Welcome to the ChannelX Leaders Interviews. Delighted to be joined today by James Rigg, CEO of Trojan. So welcome, James. How are you today?
Yeah, hi Chris. I'm really good, thank you. And also thank you for inviting me onto this chat today.
Oh, you're welcome. Now, can you just, to start with, for those that don't know you, just introduce Trojan Electronics and explain what your role is as CEO?
Yeah, okay. So Trojan is based down in Swansea, and we provide a whole range of e-commerce and fulfillment services, and manage many of the D2C websites and marketplaces for global FMCG brands and also for electrical manufacturers. And in addition to running the e-commerce and the fulfillment, we also provide repair and refurbishment of returned electrical items, which can then be either resold on the manufacturer website or sold through our eBay stores. So we have the full focus from e-commerce and fulfillment, but this whole piece around sustainability and trying to reduce products going to landfill that could be repaired. And in addition to Trojan, I'm also the chair of CLEAR, which is an industry body that represents UK electrical manufacturers to lobby the government to make changes to improve sustainability and reduce e-waste.
And that's really interesting. I think it's a problem a lot of manufacturers have. So how do you kind of approach the challenges of managing returns and scaling globally with your dual roles of one wanting to recoup money for the businesses, but also on the sustainability and clear side to keep product out of landfill? Especially, I should say, if a return comes back that's maybe broken.
So they almost all come back broken, and many come back incredibly dirty. So it's always a juggle on what to do with returned electrical items. And there's a problem actually for many manufacturers because they don't think that consumers will buy a product that's been used by somebody else. There's a whole perception around some of the big brands that they think a consumer would never buy a dirty product that's been cleaned. And they're completely wrong, because actually the consumer who can buy an expensive branded beautiful item will always buy that. And the consumer who cannot afford to buy that product, who would normally buy a cheaper brand new product, can now buy a really good brand as a refurb that looks like new. So we try and balance the requirements between making it commercially viable to the manufacturer, making the price point attractive so it can still sell and cover the cost of refurb. And even if we break even almost in doing that, that's fine if we can save that product, because our focus is if we can double the life of a product, we will halve product going to e-waste. So even though we are a commercial business and we are an e-commerce commercial business, the whole piece around sustainability is something that I'm passionate about, and therefore I want us to do something which can help make a difference, and that's what we do. Looking at scalability, we currently are doing very well in the UK. We'll keep growing in the UK, but our next scale comes from our new warehouse that we've opened in Utrecht in Holland this year, and we have a scalability plan now going through to 2028 in Europe, in addition to UK.
So UK and Europe, but how do you help brands to manage their e-commerce operations effectively, and especially globally, because we are in a global world nowadays?
Yeah, it's very global. So it's really weird with manufacturers. They're incredibly good at making things and incredibly good at shipping pallets to retailers, but they don't have any infrastructure in most cases to do it themselves, to sell direct or go to marketplace. So they can't take payment. They don't have merchant of record services. They can't manage the VAT. There's a whole mess around how do you sell direct to somebody. So what we have is our platform called Trojan Multiplicity. And what this does is to connect to all of the UK and increasingly many of the European marketplaces and the D2C sites like Commerce Tools, Shopify, and so on. So one single stock holding can be sold simultaneously on all platforms in the UK and increasingly into Europe. So what we offer the manufacturer is something that within 2 or 3 weeks, they can go from having product not sold direct to having product sold direct on their website with payment taken, fraud checks, shipments, customer services, all that working immediately with no cost to them, no opportunity cost to use people to set it up. Yeah, they can just springboard, go live, at a zero risk, zero cost start.
So I'm really interested in the D2C, but before we dig too much into that, I can you address the dilemma for the manufacturers or the brands on how they sell brand new product alongside refurbished or returned product? I know in the old days, a lot of brands would have said, you know what, we sell new product on our own website. Anything that's in the slightest bit distressed, we'll just put it on eBay as refurbed. But nowadays, consumers are kind of expecting you to have refurbed alongside brand new product. How do they kind of address that dilemma?
Okay, so we actually undertake surveys with consumers to understand their views on buying refurbished. And we did one last year around the responsibility of manufacturers to sell refurbished products. And over 80% of people who replied wanted to see refurbished products sold alongside brand new product to prove the credentials of the manufacturer. So if you look at people like Mellita, who do the bean to cup coffee machine, and we do all their repairs for return products, and we harvest spare parts from damaged ones and build them back up again to look like new. And they sell the refurbished ones on their website that say look like new or refurbished by new alongside their brand new product. So they've recognized that actually they're not diluting their brand, or they're not diluting the price, or they're not going to see customers shift from brand new to refurb. They recognize actually that it's a new customer channel going to buy their product from their website, and their brand new customers who buy new products can recognize the sustainability that the manufacturer has done by selling these products alongside. So people like Mellita and some others who are very forward thinking embrace this, whereas some other manufacturers who are really good big brands are petrified of having refurbished products on their website. They're worried that it may have a high failure rate, or it may damage the brand, or it may dilute the price. And there's a massive fear in some of the commercial directors' conversations, which is completely at odds with what's happening with consumers and consumer behavior. So I think what we're seeing is demand from consumers, and most good manufacturers are now having refurbished products sold on their website. Many of them sell it through us, so it's arm's length. So if they're not directly associated with it, but their product's still in refurb. So there's a mixture of people testing the market to see how far can they go with endorsing refurb. Like we're currently doing a project with Glen Dimplex, and we're processing thousands of range cookers. So beautiful Bellingen stoves, range cookers, like 110 centimeters, huge things, which we're selling through an eBay store, and they're doing incredibly well. And so I think consumers want it. I think manufacturers are scared, but realize actually it's the best way to go.
And I want to get back to the D2C that we mentioned. How's the shift from sort of selling on marketplaces like Amazon to D2C influencing Trojan's strategy? And obviously, in the pandemic, we saw so many businesses, high street businesses, that were suddenly shut, that all suddenly wanted to do D2C on their own websites or needed to get onto Amazon or similar sites. But how is this influencing Trojan's strategy? How are you embracing the desire for brands to sell direct rather than through partner retailers?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and I think this year more than ever is a question that's in most of the boardrooms of global firms. People like Tesco and Amazon are so huge and so important that there won't be a massive swing from those sites to D2C. But the manufacturer who's selling product and doing campaigns for advertising can't see the results of that when it's going through Amazon and Tesco. It takes weeks, if not months, to get back any feedback. So if somebody had a buying behavior of buying this product every 3 weeks and then stopped buying it, on a D2C site, they can see that behavior has changed. So it could be an allergy, it could be a problem with a competitor price point. In real time, they can see what's happening with their consumer. They can do new product development trials and tests and so on, which they can never do through Amazon or Tesco. So the first thing is that the huge amount of real-time live insight into their customer and building a relationship with their customer is key to their brand and their marketing exercises. But I think increasingly what we're seeing is people wanting to have to be able to de-risk themselves from the Amazon and Tesco huge engines. Because if Amazon decides to delist a product or not buy stocking quick enough, then there's a stock outage of that product, and there's nothing that a manufacturer can do about it. I think by having a D2C site, they have the option to always be selling their product, even if Amazon or Tesco or whoever delisted it or ran out of stock. I think the key thing for us is to make sure that we manage the pricing in the channel, not to create competition against Amazon 1P, because nobody wins there other than Amazon 1P. So we need to make sure that we keep the price in the channel without creating unnecessary price conflict. So that's what we try to manage, whilst also having the stock available to sell on any platform, so we can move stock instantly between platforms if there's a change in buying behavior. But I think D2C this year will be one of the biggest movements or shifts for most manufacturers. I think understanding their customer, seeing buying behaviors, being able to test products, building relationships, being more personalized, create subscriptions. I think we'll see that change this year for many big brands.
And while we're talking about changing e-commerce, what are your kind of growth plans for the year? And perhaps even more importantly, how do you see the kind of the e-commerce landscape evolving in 2025?
It's a great question. So 2025 is probably the year of lots and lots of new marketplaces. There's a huge shift in marketplaces. So Debenhams and everybody else seems to be launching a marketplace. Homebase is back on there again. So what was an Amazon, eBay, and some Tesco 2 or 3 years ago is now so many people that will create competition and opportunities. But also,
there's more coming all the time. Castorama in Poland, Best Buy in the US, Temu everywhere. TikTok Shop in the UK is phenomenal.
So you mentioned 2 good ones there. So many marketplaces are being similar to other marketplaces, other than Temu and TikTok. So Temu, whilst they're not big in the UK yet, they've just launched that ship local concept where customers can see it's coming from UK, not from China. But they have such an incredible platform that can monitor customer behavior, offer discount coupons to unique customers, and discount the price to acquire somebody more than once so they can sell back later. Because their model is to sell the product, they're the seller, where the DSP in essence for Temu, and we might sell at a set price, but they can discount that price down as much as they want. When they sell it, it's their loss. It doesn't affect us to acquire. So they have a huge amount of customers. Many of them were young, but they're now maturing customers. They have a customer base not a million miles away in size from Amazon in some categories. So I think Temu is absolutely the one to watch this year, because if they crack it, they could be incredible. And also TikTok and TikTok Shop and what TikTok's doing around bringing major brands onto their platform, still sold through influencers. So the whole thing works through the reels. But those two, I think, are creating something new that's actually genuinely exciting. Whereas some of the other platforms are just another marketplace competing for the same customer. And unless they have something unique about them, Tesco has that club card, which gives them an edge. But many of the ones I think will struggle in such an increasing competition.
Yeah, TikTok and Temu do fascinate me. I've got one question for you on Temu specifically. Is when do you think the tipping point will come when bigger brands actually want to put their products on Temu, as opposed to at the moment, a lot of them are viewing it as, no, it's a Chinese low-cost, low-ASP platform. We don't really want it. Is local inventory going to be the tipping point in 2025 to get the big brands on board?
So there's 2 things that Temu have to do, and I think are doing. One is the concept of local, although I'm not sure if that makes a huge difference to consumers, because it is a price-driven platform. But I think they are investing heavily in bringing brands on, and they are doing their own subsidies because they're the retailer to attract big brands. I think this year we'll see several very large brands start to sell on Temu. I think the fear that brands have is that Temu historically had an awful lot of very similar looking product, not made by the manufacturer, being sold at pennies versus pounds. And they've created a channel of product that looks very similar to the big brand product. And I don't see that changing very quickly. So that will stay around it, because that's the China model that it started as. But I do think that they are very focused on UK brands. An awful lot of good people have gone from some other marketplaces to join them recently, and therefore, I give that energy they've put behind it. There's definitely going to be some big brands this year, I think.
So getting back more specifically to yourself and Trojan, what kind of is the killer competitive advantage that Trojan brings to the market for brands that work with you or potentially want to work with you?
I think one of the things that makes us incredibly nimble and therefore easy to work with is that every aspect of what we do is within our business. So our multiplicity platform that has APIs to every other marketplace and platform was written by us in-house. We have a very large developer team that wrote that. Our customer services are in-house. Our payment services are in-house. Okay, we use the payment gateway to acquire the funds, but we've written all of this. This is the entirety of our infrastructure has been written by us and people who've worked there for years, and that makes us very nimble and really cost effective. Whereas other traditional 3PL partners who provide e-commerce services came out of big dirty sheds with pallets in, that grew into some sort of Amazon shop, that grew into some sort of e-com something or other, but using lots of third-party platforms and tools and paying people to all these little bits of interface that needs to be tweaked, and it takes ages to do a change. Whereas all of that is within us. So all of that, when we're launching people's D2C sites and plugging into their existing infrastructure, is written by us. So we can do it really quick. We can do it very nimble and pretty cost effective. Yeah, once we've done the cost of integration, the ongoing cost is relatively cheap, really, because we've already paid it. It's us, we're not paying somebody else for that license.
And turning to you specifically, James, I'm interested to know what kind of leadership principles guide you as the CEO of Trojan Electronics. I mean, it's a sizable business. There's a lot of challenges with e-commerce constantly evolving, but also economic challenges this year. So how do you actually prepare yourself for 2025, and what principles are going to guide you through the year?
So I think you mentioned then the economic challenges and the changes to the national insurance, employees' national insurance this year is expensive. I mean, the changes to the cost of wages is growing faster than the economy or most companies, which is really annoying, because each time you want to try and invest some money, there's another chunk goes out and you're starting again. So that is a battle, which hopefully this will be our last year of that. But the key thing for us is I'm really passionate about e-commerce, and I'm really passionate about sustainability, and
it comes across.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. And I think the team we have down in Swansea is also very passionate and proud about what we're doing. I'm really proud to be making a difference, both in e-commerce and connectivity, but also in sustainability. Like this year, we've just been nominated for 2 awards for the Welsh Business Awards, one in sustainability and one in innovation. And that's a great reflection on the entire team of people who work in these departments to make us nimble and good and creative and solve problems. And I think it's that passion that we're doing something really good, because we really enjoy it, and people are gaining from it. So therefore we're helping people, and we're all pretty proud of it, and the team's proud of it. I think it's instilling this clear vision and clear goal. You're right, it's a competitive market out there. It's tough, but understanding what we're aiming towards, how we're going to get there, what changes we might have to make as a business to get there, and then just being all recognizing how well we've done and the pride that comes with that. And I think it filters through. You're right. There's a lot of people working Trojan, but but it feels positive. Yeah, we're having a town hall again on Tuesday with the 2025 update and what we're doing as a business and what we're all doing together. So yeah, I think it's that joined up sense of achievement that makes it successful.
And talking of success, brands, where they're looking to succeed in e-commerce this year, what advice would you give them? And I mean, I know the normal advice is be everywhere. So that's I need to be on TikTok, I need to be on Temu, I need to be in Europe, I need to be in America, maybe I should be on Best Buy, maybe I should go to Poland. But realistically, no brand can do everything. So where should they focus their attention to succeed specifically in 2025, which we know economically, as you just said, is a tough year from wages perspectives and many others. But is it focusing on the sort of refurb supply chain? Is it being on new marketplaces? Are there specific venues they should look at? Is it a D2C channel? All of the things we've spoken about, where should they start?
So I think all manufacturers of electrical items should have a refurbished strategy and sell products with a warranty endorsed by them, either on their website or through an eBay clearance branded store. I think it's essential that all that product gets a second chance to be sold again. I think D2C is the game changer for people to understand what it is they're doing and have immediate feedback. And then they need to work with a partner who can connect to all the marketplaces and move between them as those marketplaces grow or not grow, depending on what happens to those marketplaces. And you're right, that's a pretty common need. So what's new in that? It's surprising how many other partners, people who do 3PL services, aren't yet on Tesco Marketplace. They're still going through the integration with Miracle. Yeah, so some of the big providers from a couple of years ago are way behind other people these days. So partnering with somebody who is e-com first, I think, and having the skills in-house for SEO and AdWords campaigns and IT connectivity and all those things that go around being e-com. And I think because Trojan Electronics is spun out of by Direct Group, which is a fully e-commerce D2C business in its own right, we have all of this capability to give to people free of charge almost. Yeah. Which and I think anybody wanting to expand their e-com platforms and e-com sales, D2C first, yeah, understand your customer, refurb it if you're electrical, make sure that you're giving consumers what they want, because if you don't give it to them, they will recognize that you're not living the words that you're saying, and make sure that your partner is able to facilitate whatever changes happen quickly, because it's a changing world out there for marketplaces as well.
And that leads me nicely to my final question, which is when people are looking for a partner, if they want to find out more about Trojan Electronics, how do they get hold of you, James? How do they get hold of Trojan? Where can they follow you?
Okay, so they can find me on LinkedIn, so James Rigg. I post quite a lot on LinkedIn, so if you're on LinkedIn, you probably see my posts flying around.
We'll put a link below the video as well for you.
Yeah, excellent. And also, of course, our website, so trojanelectronics.co.uk. Go to our website, fill in a contact form, or give us a call, and I'll happily speak to anybody about anything that I can help you with.
Fantastic. James, thank you so much.
Thank you.